I was going to take a break from making YouTube videos, but the internet have collectively lost their minds over the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, when I say the internet have lost their minds, it might be warranted, but there's somewhat an understanding from me of what's happening. So I'm going to explain that today. So, in terms of the Nintendo Switch 2, it is a big price tag. We have to talk about the console, what it costs. In Australia, it's about 600, borderline 700. It might even go over 700 if you get Mario Kart with it. So it's in line with the Xbox and the PS5 in terms of the cost. Now, I know people will say, oh, but the digital, you can get all that blah, 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 digital stuff. I know people are going to say that, and they're going to say, oh, but the digital version. Every Switch can play the cartridges, so that is possible. So I'm going to consider this one that plays physical media. It doesn't play discs, obviously, but it's in line with the disc-based versions of those consoles. Now, this is not me defending Nintendo, so before any of the idiots in the comments start jumping down there and saying, oh, but you are Nintendo, blah. Understand what I'm saying. The console is a powerful one. It's in line with, I believe, the Steam Deck. So you have to consider what their price tag is, and also the market they're competing in, which is the PS5. It can run a lot of the PS5 games from what I can see. Cyberpunk is a game that's going to come out on the Switch too. And it may not run at the same rate as the PS5, but the fact that it can even run Cyberpunk shows me that it's a lot more powerful than what we were expecting, like something in line with the PS4. So, in terms of console, I get the price tag. Now, let's look at the games. Digital downloads, I don't know if the games are worth it. I mean, I think they're getting a bit of the Nintendo. Maybe they have to take money back for the development of this. Maybe that's how they're making their money back. Maybe there's overspec the console itself, so they've had to put the higher price tag, but then they can make some back on the games. Maybe that's what's happening. Or maybe they're just seeing that PlayStation do this, and maybe they're just adopting what PlayStation already does. Because PlayStation games in Australia, some of them go for $109 on digital store, on PlayStation Store. So this is not anything new to me. Cyberpunk is in the range for physical in Australia for $117 at JB Hi-Fi or something. Not out of the realm of possibilities. I've seen games go for that much. I've seen most of our games in Australia go for $99 anyways. So, and that's for PS5, Xbox when they're brand new. So I don't see any problem with that. I don't see a massive red flag for that. What I do see is their comment about exchanging games, and that the physical cartridges that come out, this is where I have a massive problem. They're not going to contain the game. They're going to contain like almost a download code that you can exchange. You can trade it in, you can do it, but there's nothing on that cartridge, apparently, from what I've heard. What's the point of having a physical console if the games are not the physical media? And I'm a fan of physical media, even though I'm trying to figure out what to do with all this. I'm a fan of physical media, so obviously I'm going to take the whole, no, they need to have the game on the cartridge. Like, and there's no reason that a cartridge of the modern era can't hold an entire game, because I've seen 2 terabyte SD cards coming out. So there's no reason why a cartridge for the Nintendo Switch can't hold a full game. But man, oh man, like, the internet have collectively lost it over the wrong things. We don't need to be focusing on the console price. Yes, it is a shock. If you weren't prepared for it, it's a shock. But it's in line with what PlayStation and Xbox and Steam Deck and all these other things are doing out there. So I don't really care about the console price. That doesn't mean I'm going to go out and buy one day one. It just means like, okay, I can understand that this is a console that can run Cyberpunk. And it can run maybe GTA 6 when it comes out. It can run a lot of games that are going to be high powered. So I understand that. I understand the cost of that. The games, I understand them going for more. I mean, Mario Kart is a first party title. And yes, while it is a shock that it's so high in terms of price, I understand it. I understand that they might be trying to make their money back. Maybe it's just something that is in line with other first party ones. Like, I'm mainly looking at PlayStation. They've done this for years. Xbox as well. Don't get on your high horse, Xbox players, because you go out and buy Halo. So, you know, to quote CM Punk, you're still going to pour money into these companies. So don't get on your high horse and say that, oh, this is unprecedented for Nintendo. Yes, it is unprecedented for Nintendo because Nintendo don't compete. They just do their own thing. They are seen as the Apple of the gaming industry for a reason because they don't compete. They just lead. And yes, it is setting a dangerous precedent, but this is why things like the Steam Deck exist. Because if you don't like it, you can go out and buy a Steam Deck and have PC gaming at your disposal, or you can build a high rig of like put graphics cards in a desktop and all that, and then do it that way. There's other ways to game. But I understand the console. I understand that being so expensive. I understand kind of the games being so expensive. I mean, the development. I mean, everyone's saying we don't get any games these days. I've been a big critic of PlayStation and PlayStation and Xbox for not having any exclusives. Nintendo's coming out of the gate with exclusives. The problem is that inflation. If you're in the US, there's tariffs as well. I mean, I'm not going to get into politics, but the tariffs do play a part. But, you look at all these things, all these external factors, the inflation, the state of the world, like there is a lot going on. And I understand that, games take a long time to develop, and this is how they make their money back. And yes, it's a first party Nintendo game, but nothing's free. We don't know what the budget was for this Mario Kart game or whatever. We don't know what Donkey Kong was budgeted for. Maybe Nintendo made all this money from the Switch 1 and said, you know what? We're going to pour some of that money into Mario Kart because we think that's going to be the big leading game. So in doing that, maybe we can, justify $300-400 million budget, maybe. Maybe even $1 billion budget. I don't think it's going to be $1 billion. Although, then again, GTA is getting said to be costing $1 billion, or $2 billion actually, GTA 6. But, I don't understand this whole gaming agenda of like all these gamers across YouTube all going on and saying, oh, well, this is unprecedented, with the PS5 Pro sitting behind them, like they haven't spent $1,400 on a console. And I get it, I'm not justifying this thing. I think it's bad for Nintendo. It's a really, really bad look. But this is not unprecedented. And as I said, I just quoted CM Punk a while back. People are still going to pour money into this company. You watch those same YouTubers who are telling you right now, oh, this game console, oh, we don't like this. This is terrible. Watch them day one. When this thing launches, watch them all post a video saying, I went out and bought this Switch. Look at this Switch too. Yeah, guys. This is why I'm just a bit annoyed by YouTube, to be honest. And I know I've been hypocritical in the past with physical media. I've said stuff like Terminator 2 sucks on 4K, but I still keep this copy, and I have the 4K copy up there. So I'm hypocritical when it comes to certain things as well. But I admit it, you know? Can we just admit that, if you want a Switch 2, you're going to go out and buy a Switch 2. It doesn't matter how much it costs. It doesn't matter how much they put it up to. Yes, it's going to be stupidly expensive, but, you can have the option to not buy it. That's what happened with the Wii U. And people are comparing it to the Wii U now, saying it's not going to sell. But the difference was the Wii U was this weird hybrid console where everyone basically wanted a handheld because it had that screen and was like, oh, so, it's still tied to your console, but it's not really a true handheld. But it was also not really a true console, like in terms of home console. So it was a weird hybrid that didn't excel at either. This is something that's clearly defined by the first generation as we know what Switch is now. We know what it is. And calling it the Switch 2 is in line, which I think it's the best name because it means that it clearly differentiates itself from the first Switch, as well as it clearly lets the nens and pops go out to the shops on Christmas and say, what one? They wanted a Switch 2. Okay. If they call it like this, like the SNES back in the days, Super NES, I'm sure that created a lot of confusion because it's like, oh, I bought this NES, but then the SNES, but then, I understand that might have caused a lot of confusion back in the 80s. So I get why they went with Switch 2 naming. But I just wanted to make this rant video because YouTube is collectively losing their minds, like they haven't seen a console go for this. The PS5 with the disc console part of it, if you want the disc drive, I think that still costs about $800 in Australia. The Pro goes for $1,400. And as I said, Xbox gamers, get off your high horse, because I saw a 2 terabyte Series X going for $1,000. Like it's $998 or whatever at JB or whatever. I saw it, and I was like, okay, it's got 2 terabytes of storage. I guess that's kind of a consolation prize, I guess. But gamers, you know how you can really say you have a problem with this? You won't have it day one. You won't have it first year. You won't have it at all. But you're still going to run out and buy it. And a lot of YouTubers are going to run out and buy it. And hell, I might even go out and buy it. I'm not in this whole high horse of like spending a obscene amount on a console. I mean, yeah, I might want to play Mario Kart. Not, although I'm probably not going to pick it up day one or like the first few months. I want to see what the issues the console has first. I want to see, does it overheat? I mean, they've got this new dock thing, so it has a fan in it, but is it going to overheat? Like, is it running? How does it run Cyberpunk? Does Cyberpunk overheat this thing, or does it warp? Like, I want to see what this console does first before I go out and buy it. But then I'll rely on the YouTubers who were criticizing this thing, who ran out and said, "Oh, you are going to buy a console that's this much." But I guarantee you, they'll have it day one. I'm just saying, this is a reality. As I said, I just think we're losing our collective minds over the wrong thing. If anything, my biggest concern is that they've said that the actual cartridges are not going to have the game on them and they're going to be digital download. And I get, because people hacked the last console and said, oh, we can put it all on an SD card now, and they had a way to get around it or something. From what I understand, they jailbroke the cartridges themselves. So I get it. I get why Nintendo's doing this. But that's my biggest concern, that preservation-wise, what happens if Nintendo goes down and you can't get into the store or re-download your items? That's where my biggest concern is, because if they truly go down this line of the cartridges will only hold a code that gives you download access, you can trade in that game and give someone else access via that, but the cartridge itself does not hold the game. If they go down that route, I think preservation, we can no longer call the Switch the preservation machine. Like, that's what I always praise the Switch about, because it was a preservationist dream. Like, yes, it didn't always get it right, but it was a lot better than PlayStation and Nintendo have been doing in recent years. Or PlayStation and Xbox, rather. Sorry. But yeah, this was just a bit of a rant. I know you guys like watching everyone else on YouTube. I do like Angry Joe's take. I think Angry Joe always does a really good take. Tyrone Magnus did a really good take on it as well. But yeah, I'm just watching all these YouTubers lose their collective minds, but then they're still saying, but when I spent an hour with it, because Nintendo gave me access to it, and they've already played it, I'm just like, so, hold on. You're saying that Nintendo had you at this event. You're still being critical of the price. I get you're being critical of the price. Like, we're all being critical of the price. As I said, it's in line with the Steam Deck and the PS5 and the Xbox. So in terms of where it is right now, I'm not going to say, oh, the price tag. It's in line with everything else. I don't really care. If you want a Nintendo, you're going to buy a Nintendo. It's a gamer thing. It's like, if you want that console, you're going to go buy that console. It's why PS5, like, these things cost money to develop, and the capacitor shortage that was a few years ago. I don't know how that's played out over the years, but I'm sure that still plays a part. But as I said, the guys who are really on YouTube ranting their heads off about this are probably going to have it day one, and you're going to see it in a couple of months, or in June or July, whenever this thing launches. You're going to see it. You're going to see them all have it on day one and be like, I was wrong about the Switch too, and it's a great console, but it's a bit expensive, but it's a great console. I don't think it won't be a great console. I think it's going to be a great console. I don't think it's going to sell as much as the Switch 1, but I think it's going to sell. Just a matter of how much. Could it sell the amount of Wii U? Could it only make it to that amount because people don't want to part with the price? Perhaps, but people are still buying PlayStation 5. People are still buying the Xbox Series. So I can see a scenario where people actually say, you know what? It's in line with everything. I mean, yes, it's more expensive, but the equivalent, which was the equivalent to it in terms of design factor, which is the Steam Deck, is roughly in the same ballpark as well. Like, in terms of in Australia, like, it's very roughly the same price. So that's just my take on the Switch 2. I'm sure you guys probably have some thoughts. You'll tell me in the comments like, oh, you're so wrong, Jamie, you're so wrong. But that's just my thoughts. You don't have to agree with them, but I'm not going to come over here and collectively lose my head about the price. If anything, I'm going to lose my head about the games not being preserved properly. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Jump down in the comments, let me know. Tell me I'm an idiot. Tell me I'm wrong. But then on day one, when it launches, let's watch all these YouTubers say, I ran out and bought the Switch too. Let's watch them all run out and buy it. The same ones who are being highly critical of it now about the price tag, watch them all run out and buy it. Just saying. As I said, Tyro Magnus had a good take on it. Angry Joe had a good take on it. A few others had a really good take on it. But I think all the ones who are really getting on and saying, I'm never going to buy this thing, this is so expensive, I'm not going to part with my money, but yet still have a PS5 Pro in the background of their videos or whatever, I think those are the ones who are you're going to see crack on day one and be like, I had to have it, I had to have it for my YouTube. That's just my thoughts, guys. You don't have to agree, but let me know in the comments. Peace.